Hi, this is Brad Wiewel, and this is the Estate of the Union. This is our podcast on all manner of legal things that have to do with estate planning, wills, trust, probate, asset protection, and today we're going to talk about taxes, especially estate taxes. And sometimes estate taxes are called death taxes, and that's a really great description because these taxes come when somebody dies. It's like the IRS reaching up out of the grave and grabbing the last little morsel of money that grandma may have had and putting it in their coffers and taking it from the mouths of the widows, or the children and grandchildren of the deceased. And I am here with Rob Hugos, who is the best estate planning lawyer on the planet.
Thank you, Brad.
I just told you that, Rob.
Yes,
That's
sir.
right. He's great. Rob is an excellent estate planning lawyer. He got his law degree from Baylor. He got a master's degree, graduate degree in tax from New York University in New York. He's board certified in estate planning and probate law. Less than 1% of all Texas lawyers are board certified in estate planning and probate law. Rob is also a CPA. And Rob, I think one time we tried to figure out how many lawyers were both CPAs and board certified in estate planning and probate. What was that number?
I think I was only able to locate about 20 in the
20.
state of Texas.
In the state of Texas. This is a
About
smart
20.
guy. He's also a really good guy. So, Rob, let's talk about estate taxes, death taxes, and kind of give us, if you could, an overview as to how they work.
Okay, thanks, Brad, for inviting me today. It's a great Friday morning. The topic, maybe not so great for some people. The good news is that very few people are going to be affected by estate taxes. But it is in the minds of many of our clients and many people in the public, especially with the news reports and activity at the political level. In general, most people are going to be exempt today if they have under $23 million.
23 million is a lot of money.
That's a lot.
I'm guessing most of our listeners have a lot less
It was
than
like,
that.
why do I need to listen to the
Right,
rest of the
right.
podcast,
Now-
right?
But it is, and that's why we're doing this, folks, because it's on the minds of a lot of people. You hear about the death tax. You hear about the new Biden administration. Bernie Sanders has a new proposed law, the 99.5% Act. We'll talk about too today. But it's kind of, it's out there. It's a topic of conversation. Now, $23 million, does every individual get that?
That's for a couple.
Okay.
Every person has $11,700,000 in today's dollars that's exempt. And that amount is adjusted for inflation, and it can change. One thing we know is that the rules for estate tax will continue to change.
Absolutely, Rob. And we've got the new Biden administration, and we expect some changes from them. And President Trump changed it, and I think Obama changed it, didn't he?
That's right. Obama changed it. They've all changed it to some extent. Even if nobody changes anything, the estate tax is going to change in 2026.
Okay.
That 11.7 million per person that you can have and be exempt from any death tax, that's going to drop in half.
Oh, wow.
And so dropping in half with adjustment for inflation, it's going to be around $6 million in 2026.
Okay, and that'll be per person.
That's per person.
Okay, still a lot of money, and again, a lot of money. So a married couple might get 12?
Married couple would have around 12 with the automatic, right now in the law, it's automatic reduction in half.
Okay.
In 2026 if nothing's changed.
All right. So we're talking big numbers here, ladies and gentlemen, but there are some people that listen that probably have those numbers. But again, if you're curious about it, which most people are, because it could go down to, holy cow, there's no floor for it either, is there? If Congress or the president decide to tax everybody, they could, I guess.
We've had tremendous bailouts. We have trillions and trillions added to our already exploding debt, and somewhere this has to be paid for. Mm-hmm. And one place that, especially the more liberal political side, is looking at wealthy individuals, mm-hmm. and that's where Bernie Sanders is focused on. those uber wealthy individuals. Some of his rules, though, will affect ordinary wealthy people that have several $1,000,000, but most of it's targeted to the significantly wealthy individuals, the top 0.5% or the top 0.1% of the American people.
Okay, so we'll get to Bernie's thing here in just a few minutes. Why can't I just, before I die, just give everything I've got to my kids or my niece and nephew, whatever, and not worry about the death tax? I've given it away. What's there to tax?
Well, the way the tax works currently, Brad, is that you've got $11.7 million per person. It's kind of like a debit card that you can charge against now or at your death.
Okay.
And so if you give away the $11.7 million today, you have nothing left at death. You have no exemption at death. And in the current law, it doesn't really matter if you give it away now, today, or if you wait to give it away at your death and let it go on. The big difference would be that if you give it away now, then all of the investment and the growth on what you've given away is not yours any longer. It's going to be the kids, and so that's not going to be included in your estate. So that's the strategy some of the clients I work with are doing, is giving away their $11.7 million of exemption to get it out of their estate, because they know that's going to grow considerably until the time that they pass away, but that's all going to belong to their kids.
And so what is the tax rate?
The tax rate is currently 40%.
Wow. So once you're above these big numbers, which are very big numbers, but once you're above those, then the tax is 40% of what's left. Okay.
And if you're married, you can delay the payment of the tax until your spouse has passed away. Maybe your spouse needs to use some of your wealth. And then the settlement comes after the spouse is passing. Both of the couple have passed. And the estates that remain, you essentially get double the 11.7. You get the 23 million exemption at that point when the second of the spouses pass.
Now, we did a program on people living together and not getting married. So if I live with my partner and we don't get married, do we still get that same deal?
It's only transferable among married spouses.
Okay.
So the settlement with the IRS happens when the person dies, a single person dies. The 40% above the 11.7 million exemption, that 40% is due 9 months after death. And if the property that they own is not very liquid, like it's a farm, it's a manufacturing company, a closely held company, it's difficult to pay the 40% tax 9 months after death. And
let's go over that again. So it's due 9 months after death.
Correct.
Do they gotta get put on a credit card? Get a lot of air miles for that.
The IRS wants the money then. There's a few mitigation. There's a few reductions if it's a farm. There's a few other programs that can delay payment, but they're very, very strict and narrow. And almost everybody pays 9 months after death.
No credit cards accepted.
No, it's got to be cash.
Okay.
Got to be cash.
Shucks. All right. Well, I was looking for a silver lining here, Rob.
Well, the silver lining is if you're married, you can delay it until the second death.
Okay.
But then 9 months after the second spouse's death.
All right.
The amount is due.
Now, these are, again, large numbers. So Bernie Sanders, the independent senator from Vermont, who is, walks and talks and quacks like a Democrat, ran for president as a Democrat, wants to make a lot of changes because what I've read, a lot of the really well-heeled people in our world, really, a lot of people don't think they're paying their fair share. He thinks 11.7, I think, Rob, he thinks that's too much to be exempt, and he wants to lower it. So tell us what Bernie Sanders wants to do.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders purportedly just wants to go after the uber wealthy, but he wants to lower the exemption down to $3.5 million per person, which would be a dramatic change. That means for a married couple, $7 million would be exempt.
Okay.
And that's going to bring a lot more of the
upper middle class,
moderately wealthy people into the fold. And from what I've seen with my clients, a lot of the $7 million range clients, they own a business and they own things that are not easily sold. And it's going to be difficult for them to make that payment 9 months after death when the estate tax is due.
Now let's look at that $3.5 million, Rob. So does that include my house?
It includes everything.
Wow.
Everything.
All right.
House, business. It includes everything that was inherited from parents that was already estate taxed when a person's parents have passed away.
What about life insurance? If I've got $1 million life insurance policy on my life, does that get included too?
It does.
Okay.
It does. It's all included. There are some strategies and tax planning techniques that can exclude some of these things, but
Okay.
that's more of an advanced planning type discussion. But in general, everything is included, including the insurance that you purchase to pay the estate tax 9 months after the second spouse dies. That life insurance is also taxed at 40%.
So I can see where, let's say, especially a single person, $3.5 million, is still a lot of money, but we were talking about housing values with Wade, one of our teammates, and he was remarking how he gets solicitations all the time during the weekly, for people who want to buy his home, and the housing prices certainly around the country, and particularly here, we're in Central Texas, are off the charts. So
They are.
real estate could kick me up. The stock market's done well, that could kick me up.
That's a good point, Brad. It's the current value of the asset that is taxed for estate tax. So it's the current value of the house. It's the current retail value that you could sell a company, a very profitable company business for. It's the current value of your financial investments on the date of death, which could be substantially more than your original investment in the financial account. If you own a few rental properties, it's the current fair market value of those rental properties, not the amount on the tax rolls necessarily, but the actual cost. And when you're in the estate tax world, you end up having to appraise each of these assets. You need a qualified appraiser that the IRS will accept, and all that's attached to the estate tax return, and the IRS can challenge the appraisals that you give them.
So if I get my brother-in-law out there, and
I didn't know your brother-in-law was an appraiser
well,
and qualified before the
yeah,
IRS.
he's a handyman. He's been around a long time. Can I get him to do that appraisal?
No, it's got to be an appraiser with certain recognized credentials that the IRS will accept, or they will not accept the appraiser.
So that's a lot. Bernie, I think, also wants to raise the tax levels a little bit too.
He does. Instead of 40%, the tax rates start at 40% for the estate tax above $3.5 million per person, but then they inch on up to 65%.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
huge.
Wow. So that's, again, the name of his act, from what I understand, Rob, is the 99.5% Act.
I think that's correct.
And the 0.5 or...
Supposedly, the top 0.5% of Americans holds such tremendous wealth that he's targeting that group of people.
Okay.
But I really challenge the concept that some of the people below that are also going to feel his tax plan.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So Bernie's out there. Other people are proposing ideas, again, from the Democratic side on ways to raise our taxes. And President Biden, frankly, campaigned on a platform that he was going to raise taxes. And so, I guess, like it or not, he's true to his word. Let's go back and talk about gifting a little bit more, all right? Because we get a lot of questions from people here in the office at the Wiewel law firm about, well, how much can I give my kids, and is it $11,000? Is it $20,000? How much can I give somebody today without any gift tax of any kind?
Sure, Brad. So I kind of alluded earlier that you have like a debit card that you can charge during lifetime
Okay.
or at death.
Kind of like a gift card
A
kind of
gift
thing?
card,
All right.
and you just charge against it as you make your gifts during life, and the IRS will sweep off of that $500,000 to a child. You reduce your 11.7 million exemption. Whatever the exemption is it's reduced by the gift. There are some freebies, and that's adjusted for inflation. And so, I mean, some of our clients come in and they're still giving the free amount that you can give an individual person every year, and it doesn't count on your card. It doesn't
Okay.
count
All right.
against your exemption.
All right.
And in the old days, it started out at $10,000, and with inflation, it went to $11,000. And some of the clients are still giving those old amounts, but currently the amount is $15,000 a year that you can give to an individual. Each person can give $15,000 to any other individual, and that doesn't count against your exemption, your lifetime exemption or gift exemption.
Okay, so that doesn't come off the gift card. It's just free money. So you could give me
Yes, I could.
$15,000 today,
That's right.
and maybe my wife Cindy, you could give her.
I could give another 15
and
to
I've got
Cindy.
3 kids, Rob. So we're really kind of.
But I like you and Cindy together could give me 30,000.
Let's be realistic, Rob. Let's not go crazy on this thing, right? Okay, so anybody on the planet I can do that for.
You can give that 15,000 to anybody on the planet. You can also give your spouse any amount, because I mentioned earlier, you wait till the second spouse is passing before you kind of settle up with the IRS. And so if you've transferred your money to your spouse, that's not considered a gift as long as that spouse is a U.S. citizen.
Ah, good point. So we live here in Austin, and we have Michael and Susan Dell. Michael is, Bernie printed out the thing we had, a large list of very wealthy people. Michael's very close to the top of that list. So Michael could give Susan Dell $1 billion today, and that would not be taxed
That's correct.
because they're married.
They're married, and Susan's a U.S. citizen
Okay.
and can receive it, and no tax, no gift tax.
Okay. But if they were just living together, they were partners, that would not work that way.
Only 15,000 would not be taxed
Wow.
of that
All right.
gift. That's right.
That's a big difference. That's a big difference. What about people wanting to give money to grandchildren? Now, we have many clients who, well, I want to set aside some money for my grandchildren. Let's shift off of this and talk about that a little bit. Maybe we'll do another whole program on gifting for grandchildren. But can I give a grandchild the $15,000? Sounds
Sure.
like I can.
You can, anybody.
Is
That's
that,
right.
Is it a good idea to write a check directly to a grandchild?
Well, depends how old the grandchild is.
Good point.
Can
Excellent. That's a
can
good
they
point.
manage their 15,000? If they're under 18 years of age, somebody has to legally control that money for the grandchild. It's not going to be directly to the grandchild. There's different ways to do that. It could be in a trust for the grandchild, or it could be a what we call an UTMA account, which is just it's something created under state law that says you can open the bank account for the minor, put the 15,000 in there, and you can designate who the custodian will be until the minor turns 18 to 21, whatever the state law provides. And most states provide that type of account will go to the grandchild at 21.
Okay, all right. And I know there are these things called 529 accounts,
Correct.
and that's for education.
That's for education for the minor, and they are also controlled, have a custodian in control of that, so that you don't have a college-age student in control of the party fund that their grandparents gave them. Somebody else will control it for them.
Good point, Rob. This is an experienced lawyer right here, I will tell you.
I did go to UT, and so I know about the party funds.
Okay, let's get back to estate taxes. I've heard it said, and I'm sure I've used this term with people, that estate taxes are voluntary taxes, that you don't have to pay them if you plan. Would you talk about that?
You really don't. And that's one of the main, I think, legitimate complaints about our estate tax system, is that if you hire legal assistance and get good counseling, you can actually create legal structures and transactions to minimize and even eliminate a large part of the estate tax cost. And that's unfortunate for the smaller families that have a smaller net wealth. They're less likely to seek that type of experience in more sophisticated estate tax planning. And when they pass away, they're going to owe that 40%. And the super wealthy, they know about these type of techniques, and they seek out the legal advice to create these type of shelters that will pass on great amounts of wealth to the next generation without tax.
I've heard it said that there are two tax systems in the country, Rob, that there's a tax system for the informed and there's a tax system for the uninformed. Does that make sense?
That's true. Absolutely true. Yes.
So let's talk about just maybe one or two things that a normal family with, again, their real estate's up in value, they've done well in the stock market, they've got some life insurance for the rainy day, the unfortunate rainy day, and it looks like they may be surprising to them in a situation where if Bernie's law passes, they've got an estate tax problem. Would be one or two just simple techniques they could do?
I think one thing that would be is pretty common is that when life insurance is purchased, the idea is that all this cash that will be available at the second death is going to be used for the estate tax bill. And the problem there is that the insurance itself will be taxed at 40%, unless it's in and owned by a special type of trust called an irrevocable life insurance trust. And if it's owned by this special type of trust, the cash comes into the trust, the money's there for the family, it can be used to pay the estate tax, but the insurance is not going to itself be hit with the 40% tax.
Okay, all right.
So that's a very common tool that one of the first strategies that a wealthy family will use that has insurance, they'll set up an irrevocable life insurance trust.
Okay, put the insurance in there. That's the savings account to pay the taxes out of, and the family inherits then the estate.
Correct.
All right. What about giving money to charity? Does that help?
There are many different ways to set up a charitable plan that will allow the net wealth to be decreased for IRS tax calculation purposes for the estate tax. It's kind of a public policy position that if you're going to give money to charity, we're going to reduce the estate tax burden on your assets as an encouragement. And there's several techniques available. You can set up, again, a trust, a special type of trust that will provide a certain amount of economic benefit for a charity, but it can tremendously reduce the estate tax costs to the family by setting up that type of trust. And the even interesting part of this is that the family can benefit from that trust as well. So family and charity can benefit, and the family's estate tax costs can dramatically drop with that planning.
All right. So the Congress, in their wisdom, we'll give you that, has said if you give money to charity in a variety of ways, then you can do that, or you can give it to the IRS.
Or you can just pay the IRS, and your family's not getting it, and charity's not going to get it.
Right.
But the IRS will get it.
And these are wonderful people, I'm sure. Now, we're in Austin, Texas. We have an IRS headquarters here. The people who work there are fine folks, but I wouldn't say the IRS is on anybody's top 10 of my favorite organizations.
No, Brad, when I meet with clients that are interested in reducing their estate tax cost, it's a surprise when they realize they have 2-3 kids. And they realize that the IRS is going to get a larger portion of their overall net wealth than any of their children will receive. And it can be pretty dramatic. If you've got 3 kids getting 20% of an estate, that totals 60%, and the IRS is taking the other 40%. And I recently met with a client where that's going to happen, and they're interested in planning. But that 40% child, Brad, that's an ugly child.
Ooh, I'll bet that is an ugly kid.
It will sue you. It will take your money, not tuck you in.
Rob,
It's
could it put me in jail?
it can put you in jail. It's not one of the people in your estate plan that you're really thinking about, but it's one that will take a bite if for the families that are above the exemption.
All right, so let's just put this in as simple a terms as we can. Is it possible to disinherit the IRS?
You can disinherit the IRS with planning. If you going back to your comment about two types of estate plans, two types of planning. If you do something, you can plan around the IRS problem. You can disinherit the IRS. Some of it may include helping charity. It's certainly going to help the family. If you don't do any planning and you're in an estate tax situation, the IRS is going to get their 40%.
Okay.
Currently 40%.
Currently 40%, and again, currently the estate exemption is 11.7. Married couples get 2. With Senator Bernie Sanders' proposal, it drops to $3.5 million.
That's right.
Married couples would get 2. Again, single people, and we have a lot of single people in Austin, Texas, and in other places in the country that have done well. And again, maybe they have stock options. Are stock options included in that too?
Stock options are included in the value. We've got in Austin, we've got a lot of tech companies that have really driven up wealth of families, and you wouldn't know it because a lot of it is in the stock of the company, and all of that is included in their estate at their passing.
Okay, well, this is big stuff, and you work with clients to help them minimize or eliminate these taxes.
That's right, Brad. If the client is inclined, I can eliminate all their taxes.
Okay, so these are, again, voluntary taxes, and again, certainly may not be anywhere near a level where this is going to impact you dramatically, but you may have older family members. Farms, again, are particularly vulnerable, small businesses. We have clients that just have had 25 acres, and they've been living on this nice little spread of land, and they look up and realize that the 25 acres is worth maybe, $10,000 an acre.
Right.
That's a lot of money right there, and then other things add up too. So this is something that we don't want you to be uninformed about, which is why we're doing this podcast today. This is very fluid. Rob and I went to the trouble of printing out a summary from another estate planning lawyer who went through a complete analysis. You remember that email of why this isn't going to happen. He thinks, and he's a very smart guy, that there aren't enough votes in Congress to make any of these changes, and certainly that may be right. So we don't know. My sense of the future has been off many times. I'm not a prophet. I'm not a great predictor. I did not predict Baylor to win the NCAA basketball championship, and I sure as heck don't know what's going to happen with taxes in the future. And Rob, I'm not sure what your powers of prognostication would be on this either.
I think it's pretty telling that Biden did not change the rate or the exemption. He doesn't propose changing either one. So
with President Biden's proposal in his speech that he's not affecting estate taxes from he wants to do a few other things, but not estate tax.
He wants to make a few modifications to the planning tools that we use to lower estate tax with some clients, but the overall exemption he doesn't propose changing, which means in 2026 it would drop in half from 11.7 to roughly 6 million, just automatically without anybody doing anything, and he doesn't propose any change in the rate, so there would be no 65% Bernie Sanders rate under a Biden plan.
Okay, so this is all in flux. They may make changes, they may not. The purpose of the State of the Union is to keep you informed of what's going on. We'll do more programs on this. If things look like they're about to pass, then we'll do a special program on that, or wait till they pass, and then we'll know exactly what's out there. But We're with the Wiewel Law Firm in Austin, Texas. You can go to our website, texastrustlaw.com. You can see many of our 200 plus 2-minute videos are on there. You can listen to other rebroadcasts of this podcast. We are happy to hopefully inform you as to what's going on, and you can, again, contact us through our website, texastrustlaw.com, and you can email us at info@texastrustlaw.com with questions. Thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and have a great day.